So I'm home. It is now Thursday, July 4th, and it has been a roller coaster of a week. Um, I think the last video I did, we were looking for a place for my mom. So we had a really rough night Monday, um, and we had to have the hospice people um, step in again, and we took her back to the hospice unit at the hospital while we looked for a place. My mom's friend drove me around while we looked, and um, so we had a rough night Monday. This was Tuesday. We took her back to the hospital and drove around and looked at a couple of long-term care facilities. And the first one we looked at was okay. It felt very hospital-like. Um, she could only have a shared room, which was separated. The beds were separated by a curtain that you could, pull around for privacy. We checked a second place where they did have a private room, um, which was essentially a uh, shared room where they had taken one of the beds out to make it private. Um, Not exciting. Um, so we had sort of settled on the first place and figured if she had the side close to the window where she could have some light and everything, she might be more open to that. When I got home to her house Tuesday night after halfway making a decision, I had a huge panic attack. It just didn't feel right. So um, that was the first time I had any uh, real panic pit in my stomach kind of feeling. So we didn't, sorry, my phone, people keep texting and calling to check on me. I turned the turn the ringer off now. Um, so I just had this sinking, sick feeling, like it just didn't feel right to me. So, in addition to not feeling right, I was second guessing myself. Is this really the right thing to do? Is it just because she's medicated that we're having such a hard time getting around? Is she just weak from not eating enough and she's sleeping because she's medicated? Well, I talked to the hospice people. They assured me that was not the case, that she's going to have good days and bad days, and that even if she was medicated, she is in fact still declining. Okay, I accepted that. We spent Wednesday driving around looking for a new place. Um, we did find several that we looked at. Um, we tried one that, again, only had shared rooms. Another one, their private room was smaller than my bathroom. I mean, it was It was a very small room. It felt like a little bigger than a closet, but that would be my comparison. Um, you walk in, there's a bed with barely enough room for a chair at the foot, and this teensy little bathroom. And we may have been okay with that, except the entire place just smelled. That was a big red flag for me. Um, when we drove up, there were staff. The staff break area was in the parking lot. I didn't care for that, but okay, it's the staff. They're doing whatever away from the residents, fine. But we got in and just everything about it felt wrong. It was not good. Now I understand um, the concerns that people have placing mom in a nursing home a lot more than I ever did. So now I'm, second guessing again. Are we going to find a place that's going to make sense? Mom's coherent. It's not like she won't recognize or be aware of her surroundings. She's very aware of her surroundings. Still very vocal when she's lucid and not medicated, and we'll come back to that. So we drive around, we check out several different places. On Wednesday, we find one that is, a little bit more expensive, but if we're looking at a life expectancy of 3 to 6 months, if the resources are available, you'll look at it. But average price in my mom's area for a shared room is on the low end from around $235, $240 to $290 a day. So, you do the math, and that's, $7,000, $8,000 a month. Then, it gets up into the higher end from around $290 to $320 a day for full-time, for a private room. This is still cheap compared to private in-home care, averaging about $35 an hour for 24-hour care, comes out to about $800 a day. So, as we're finding out, and I'm sure is as much a shock to you as it was to me, care for our loved ones is extremely expensive. And if they have even a little bit of money in the bank, even if it's only $30,000 or $50,000, you still have to use up all of their money before the state will step in and help. So that's another thing. But if we had decided that if it was going to be $320 a day versus $280 a day, we're looking at $40 a day difference for night and day for the environment. And if you're looking at giving someone the best, most comfortable experience you can, thinking they may only have a couple of months to live, if one can afford it, I recommend spending the extra $40 a day for the private room, the nice, spacious tile bathroom that's easier for the loved one to get in and out of, and have a more hotel feel than a hospital feel. We did find one place that did feel exactly like that, like a nice hotel room, as opposed to that hospital feel. So, so we are definitely a little happier about that. The bed has a nice, I mean, not the bed, but the room does have a big window and a nice cabinet feature with a TV and uh, closet space for clothing and personal items. They agreed to let us set up her computer. Again, mom's, when she's not knocked out on anti-anxiety medication, she's very lucid, very aware, and definitely bored, looking for something to do with her time. She wanted to have her computer, so we did go ahead and get that. Now, the other side of that, of the cost, is if you can't afford it, um, there are ways to apply for Medicaid and get Medicaid to assist. In many cases, that actually will also expect the loved one to contribute via their Social Security. Excuse me, while I was there, I did get sick. Tuesday, after looking around, I went back to her room in the hospital and spent some time, and that's where I started to feel really sick. I got chills and had a little bit of a fever. So when I went back to her room or back to her house that night, on top of feeling I'm not well, I thought I was just sore from having to pick her up off the floor the night before. I, just thought maybe the room was too chilly. I didn't think much of it. But when I got back to her house, I had my little panic attack. And then I laid down on her couch and watched some TV, and that's where I slept all night. Wednesday, we got up and, did what we did, looked around. I was still kind of chills. Then, of course, the sinus stuff gets started. But, this isn't about me. I've got to keep going. I've got to, work this out for mom. So we did finally find a place. And as I said before, we have to exhaust all of her personal resources before we can get any assistance paying for her care. Now, mom would rather be at home, but at $800 a day, we're looking at $16,000 to $20,000 a month. That's going to go through money extremely quickly. Now, some people can drop everything and go live with the parent and become the parent's full-time caretaker. Some people can talk the parent into moving in with them and getting part-time care to come in while the family's at work. And then, of course, the family's there in the evenings and weekends. needing less of that in-home care. With my mother, she refuses to move to Arizona with me, even though the hospice people told us that it could be arranged. I can't just quit my job. I have my own mortgage to pay. I have my own bills. And as much as I would love to spend the time with mom, it's just not the practical, most reasonable thing to do. Because if I quit my job, we go through her resources. And of course, she's not allowed to use her resources to help me. So I have to keep working. I mean, it's just practical, real life. It sucks. But that is what it is. So we find a place. We get mom settled in on, she moves in on Friday. They move her from the hospital to the long-term facility. So knowing this, Thursday, I have to take them a check. Well, I'm not a signer on her bank account, so we had to fix that. So, thank goodness she's lucid and coherent and aware. She had already given me a power of attorney and made me the beneficiary on her bank account. So, adding me as a signer on her main bank account so I could pay for her care and have access to be able to take care of that. We did manage to get that arranged. So Thursday, I spent the day going to the bank accounts, to the banks, getting the accounts worked out, getting a cashier's check, and going to pay for her first month at the facility. Yes, you pay in advance. They don't send you a bill after the fact. You pay, just like moving into an apartment, you pay your first 30 days up front. So we were able to do that. And then, checked in with mom in the evening, still at the hospital, and she was pretty okay. She was not in a great mood. But then these days, I guess it's hard to be in a good mood when you feel like garbage. However, I did have dinner with her. Wednesday and Thursday nights at the hospital. They let us order off the menu similar to her. We just had to pay, I think, $7. And we could order the same good meal she had. So her friend and I stayed and had dinner with her in her room. And then, as I said, Friday, she moved to her new facility. So while she was doing that, we had other banking business to take care of. We had her regular bank account that is used for her household bills that we had to go get me added to, so that as she declines, I would be able to write the checks and pay her household bills. We also on Friday, um, went and spent the night or the afternoon in the new room with her. And fortunately, they also at the care facility allow us to order off the same menu as mom. The difference being we only pay $5. So we did get a meal and stay with her and talk to her on Friday. And we had talked to the nurses, figured out that I have to pay separately for her phone and TV. So I didn't worry her with that. I'm just paying for that myself out of my own money. I ordered her a laptop, which came in on Sunday, and I ordered the wrong kind, so we can get to that later as well. So it turned out to be an okay day. She was a little tired. So when we got back to her house, or when I got back to her house, I guess, I actually kind of felt relieved. I felt like she was in a good place, that, um, oh, I forgot to mention the day we took her from her house to um, back to the hospital. I actually rode in the ambulance with her. I was surprised, but they let me. And I do recommend when transporting a loved one, if you can go with them, it's nice. That comfort factor. If there's questions, sometimes the EMTs or paramedics will have questions. And so if your loved one is too tired, or in my mom's case, having trouble breathing and talking is difficult, you can answer questions and be of assistance, as well as a comfort to, in my case, my mom. So Friday, we get her moved in. When I get back to her house, we had also picked up, during the day, we'd picked up some clothing and some personal items to take for, again, comfort. So that her room could feel a little more like home. So I get back to her house that evening. I get online, order her a laptop, and of course, I'm still sniffling and coughing and running nose, and just, I'm starting to feel better. I'm not, I'm not running a fever anymore. I'm just tired. And so I again, um, just kind of settled in and went to bed. Every day when I wake up, there's someone from church at the house, taking care of her lawn, bringing in her mail, the things that they usually do when I'm not there. We asked them to keep coming by and, kind of keep the routine going. And again, that turns out to be a good thing, because they will continue to, excuse me, and they will continue to check on the house and take care of things while she's not there, while she's in her facility. So I just sort of kept that routine going for her and for other people involved. So there was really not a lot of private time. There was not much time to myself from when I woke up every day until I got back to her house in the evening to get ready for bed. It was a busy day. I was surrounded by people running errands everywhere. So Friday night, I get back. I'm feeling a little bit of relief. I did make some time for my meditation. Got her laptop ordered. Saturday, I went to see her and spent most of the morning, most of the day at her facility with her. We discovered we don't have a good cell phone connection in her room, so we have to go outside to use our cell phones to make a call, which means she also doesn't get a cell phone connection and will be using the phone in her room, which I'm glad we decided to go ahead and pay for. That day, Saturday, I did decide to go ahead and rent a car to give my mom's friend a break. She's been driving me around all week, of course. And now she's got my cold and, is starting to not feel well herself. So I decided to get a car. And my son, um, Friday, Friday had told me, not Friday, earlier in the week. Again, the days kind of run together. So much happened. Um, my son decided that he was going to come visit his grandmother, and he was coming in Sunday morning. So Saturday afternoon, I pick up a car. I finally get some peace and quiet and a few minutes to myself. So I pick up the car and I drive around, and I decide just for a break. I went to one of the local malls where I used to go as a teenager and found this amazing little store. Um, so, sorry, I had to take a little break and get a cough drop. Anyway, I found this great little Tibetan store where I purchased this amazing scented oil um, and called Song of India. Amazing, smells just positively magical. So that helped me feel a little bit better. By the time I uh, got back to her room, I'd had an hour and a half to just finally just clear my head, get my own thoughts in order again, and spent some more time with her. Then she had taken an anti-anxiety pill and was getting kind of sleepy. So, um, in the process of all of this, I've been having conversations with the nurses and the nursing aides and the the assistants and anybody that had any encounter with my mom to let them know or to reinforce that she needs to not go to the bathroom by herself, not be left alone, away from, in the bathroom, washing her hands or anything. And so then, at this point I'm thinking things are pretty good. Um, as good as they can be for the situation. So I go back to her house, um, try to go to bed early, still not feeling well. I have to get up a little extra early the following day to go pick my son up from the airport. So I get up Sunday, get my shower, get ready to go, and he messages me that um, the plane is going to be late. So I call mom to check in on her, and she is kind of groggy. Not, I think she'd had some breakfast, but she was tired, not having a good day. Well, I let her know that Michael and I will be by as soon as I get him picked up from the airport. Um, so I pick up my son. We get him some groceries because he'll need to eat something while we're there, and eats completely differently than I do. And I've been eating, you know, fast food and hospital food all week. Um, so we pick him up some groceries, drop his stuff off at my mom's house, and then go visit my mom. Well, she was she was super happy to see her grandson, but she did complain a little bit that it was taking them too long to get to her, for getting her to the restroom, and she'd asked for tissues, but I think she was asking the wrong people. And anyway, she was complaining a little bit. And so we make the most of it. We spend the day. The laptop I'd ordered for her came in, so my son spent um, a good bit of time trying to set it up and get her access to all of her stuff. It turns out she has um, a program she pays for that was not compatible with the laptop. So I took him back to my mom's house to get her actual computer. So while she was sleeping, she took a nap. It was, getting to be one of those times where she was be sleeping a lot. I know we're running into a long time on this particular video, so I do apologize. I'll just, recapping a whole bunch of time and things, trying to encapsulate into one video instead of trying to break it up the way I had originally intended. So we go back, we get her computer, we bring it in, set it up, and, mom wakes up a little bit, we mess around, um, making sure she can get logged on and access to everything. And then, she puts it away, we have our dinner, and I did have to remind them not to leave her alone to use the restroom. Um, and I asked her nurse about the anxiety medication because they're giving her 2 pills. The bottle says that she can take 1 to 2. They're giving her 2. I think it may be too much. I feel like that may be the reason she's sleeping so much, is taking too many pills. I asked them to please only give her 1 and see how she does. If she still needs more, then we could give her a second one. They agree, except the problem is, you talk to one nurse, but she's not the same nurse that's going to be there in the morning. And understandably, I mean, they're medical professionals, but they're human beings. They're tired. They go home, they work these hellacious long shifts. So, clearly the same person isn't on duty 24 hours a day. So I talked to her night nurse. I talked to the morning nurse the next day. And they'd already, when we went in on Monday, they'd already given her 2. And a nurse's aide took her to the restroom, left her in there, and walked away. I was not too happy about that. I mean, the whole point is to make sure she doesn't fall and that she's taken care of, right? I mean, if we were going to risk leaving her alone so she could fall, um, we could save ourselves a whole lot of money and she could go home by herself where she wants to be. So I talked to her nurse, and this was getting late, so so the evening nurse was back on, and I mentioned to her, the nurse's aide walked away and that she really needs to not leave her alone. And that's when the nurse tells me that Mom had had an episode the night before, that she'd actually had what they consider a fall episode. I mean, it wasn't an actual hard fall, but she basically got weak and they had to help her down to the floor, and it took 2 of them to get her back up and into bed. They said that, these things can happen. It can be just not enough oxygen, just that she got weak. They turned her oxygen levels up. They did give her medication to help the breathing. They gave, and for the first time during all of this, they had given her a dose of morphine to relax the airways and make her breathing easier. Okay. They were supposed to have called me, but didn't. I'm going to let it slide this time and just pay attention. So, my son is there. My mom starts waking up after she's gone to the restroom. I've talked to the nurse. My, I mean, it's hard to convey how exhausting all of this is. But we did get, the nurse assured me she wouldn't be left alone again, because this other thing had happened. And then, of course, Tuesday comes along and it's time for us to, my son and I, to go home. I had arranged to take the same flight back um, that he was on so that, just for comfort factor and so that we could talk a little bit and discuss things in a way that we had been unable to um, while we were there. And so it turns out when we go in to see mom on Tuesday, she barely remembered we had even been there. Oh, let me go back. um, so Monday, um, mom slept most of the day. It was a rough day. I mean, she'd been on anti-anxiety. They'd given her the morphine. She slept most of the day. She woke up to eat a little bit and talk just a little. And she had tried to go through some mail and such, but really spent most of the time sleeping. So it's getting later in the evening, so I took my son back to my mom's house. And then I went back to just sit with her a little while, even though she was sleeping. She, clearly wasn't feeling well. So I sat next to her bed and held her hand and, just reassured that I love you, Mom, and I know this whole thing sucks and I wish it could be better. We'll, try to get you strong enough that you can go home like you want. Um, all the time knowing that all the medical professionals, the hospice people, everybody keeps telling me that just isn't going to happen. So, I'm just sitting there holding mom's hand, trying to be reassuring. I love you, Mom. Um, and, I stayed there for about another hour. And then when I was confident that she was sleeping soundly and had my reassurances, I did go ahead and go back to her house and get some sleep. So then it's Tuesday. We get up, we go in. Mom just, had finished her breakfast. Oh, that was the other thing. Monday, I had an appointment at the lawyer's before I went in to see my mom. That's what I did. See, so much, so much. So because I am the executor on her will, I had some questions about her will and the power of attorney and, um, the how it works with her home and the whole Medicare thing. So I wanted to get some good, solid advice. And so I did that on Monday. So Tuesday, when my son and I go to see her in the morning, she almost didn't even remember that we had been there the day before. Monday night when I was there, when I had gone back, I had, um, let her know I was back in her room, and she asked me where my son was, and I told her, I took him back to the house. Don't you remember? We said goodbye. We said we love you. I took him back to the house to get some sleep, and now I'm back. So, okay, that was good. Then we, the whole comfort thing. So Tuesday, when we come in, she's wide awake, going through her mail. feisty as ever, wanting to know where this is and how we're going to do that. She had ordered something, we needed to send it back. And, she was as alert and energetic as, as she has been on any of her good days. And then we were leaving something there for her friend to pick up. And she said, "No, you're going to need that." And I told her, "No, Mom, we're not going back to the house. When we leave here, we're going to the airport." She's like, "We need to take this back to the house." And my son says, "No, Mom, or no, Grandma, we're leaving today." Like, she didn't even know what day it was. I mean, she was alert and everything, but she kind of, I think, was missing a day. She was confused about what day it was because she had slept so much the day before. I think she just didn't realize how much time had passed. But otherwise, perfectly alert. Again, complaining, irritated that they were taking too long for this and taking too long for that. And she'd asked 4 times for a box of tissues, although I think she was asking different people that were coming in for different things. One person comes in to help her to the restroom, somebody else comes in to take her food order, somebody else comes in to give her medication. So I think, by that time she'd talked to so many people, she was just getting cranky. So we spent the day with her. We hung out, had lunch, talked to the nurses again. And, when it was time to leave, it was a little sad, but, obviously we're not crying. We're not being upset. We're staying positive and encouraging. Of course, Mom, these people are just trying to help you regain your independence and get you back on your feet. And she's really looking forward to that. So she said, well, tomorrow being Wednesday, she wanted to get dressed and go down to the dining room for breakfast because she's feeling so much better than she had the day she came back from hospice and when her legs gave out from under her. And it was, challenging. She's definitely alert. She's definitely, um, clear in her mind about what's going on and what needs to happen and what business she needs taken care of, what bills she has to pay. She's definitely still on her game, so to speak. So that kind of gets us up to speed. She's doing as well as she's going to. We say our goodbyes, I love yous, and go turn in the rental car, get on the plane, and come home. So Wednesday, which is actually yesterday, she, when I spoke with her, she did sound very alert. She was, again, wide awake. She said she had taken the anti-anxiety medication, but was definitely having a good day. I mean, she sounded, she sounded a little, a little winded because most of the time she does sound like that. Our phone conversations aren't very long for exactly that reason. So but she still sounded pretty good. She wasn't groggy, she wasn't sleepy. Um, I called her friend and let her know that mom said she had taken 2 of the pills that I'd asked them to only give her 1. Um, I told her to uh, ask to start out with 1. I told them to ask her how much she wanted. Nobody's listening to me. They gave her 2, but her friend had gone up to see her and she was alert. It wasn't like the medication had knocked her out. So I thought it was, I was blaming the medication. Her friend said she was wide awake. There was no mistaking that. I mean, she wasn't acting um, like I expected her to after taking the anti-anxiety medication. So, okay, lesson for me. Maybe her bad days are really just that bad, and it's not the medication. I still, I'm still a little skeptical. I don't like over medication, but if she, I love mom. Let her have what she needs, you know. So today I called her and she was doing well and complaining and fussing and we talked about, why it might be taking them so long to, get to her because, she's one of several patients that they have to take care of. So it's all well. It's mom's having a good day. She's feisty, but she got up and went down to breakfast. She got dressed. Um, Yesterday she went down to breakfast. There was a little mix up with her oxygen tank. Um, the portable tank wasn't a strong enough flow or something, so they fixed that. Today, by the time she got dressed, breakfast was brought to her instead of her going down to the dining room. Probably because it probably just took her too long to get dressed, but I wasn't there, so I don't know for sure. Um, so that catches us up to today, July 4th, and I'm back at home with lots of mixed feelings. Um, Wishing I could be there, but happy that I'm at home. Trusting that she's being taken care of, yet worrying that she's not. I know she's got a whole crew of people coming in and checking on her. I was there while they were doing it. Um, so we'll keep you posted. One thing I found, um, again, I think I mentioned this in one of the first 2, is meditation. So I found that it is helping me even before I get out of bed in the morning, to just use this little mantra. May I have the courage to face whatever happens today. May I have the grace to appreciate every moment. I'm going to say that a couple times, and I definitely, I think is good for my attitude and helping me remember what my priorities are and keep my patience and not be angry with the nursing staff and remembering that mom's just uncomfortable. So anyway, that's where we're at today. I will get this posted This one, along with the first two, I'll try to get them all posted over the next couple of days. Um, Ignore the Patreon and subscribe links if you want to. I originally set the channel for other things, a different video project I wanted to get started. Um, but this one just sort of needed to take priority. So it's good to see you. Thank you for checking in. And I hope I've been able to say something or provide information that's been able to help in your situation. Next time, maybe we'll talk a little more about the feelings and the emotional side, as opposed to just a practical recount. So, in the meantime, have a blessed day, and we'll get these uploaded. Probably no editing. Let's just keep it real and raw. So, we'll see you soon.